So today we will do a part one here of this series. This is going to be a two-part series where we tackle how to submit our apps for review. We're going to do in the Play console in this first video, and then on the second episode we're going to tackle the iOS side of this. So what you can expect here, we will run you through the basics, how to create the app once you have the account and you already log in. Again, I'm not going to go through that initial part, only after you already have the account and you can already create apps, and then go through the basic checklist for this app so you can get your app for reviews. Okay, so first and foremost, so when you get here to this page, and before we get into it, this is how things will more or less look like once you have submitted and your app is already in production. This is a recent app that I created. It's a puzzling game app. If you like puzzles, if you like discovering cities, if you like architecture, if you like photography, this app kind of tackles that a little bit. And let me just give you guys a preview. So it's just a puzzle game where you go through cities, you discover a bunch of cool information. There is a ranking system, there is a pointing system based on precision. Pretty cool game. Honestly, I have a lot of fun playing with it. It's just out on both platforms. So if you're curious and you like this type of games, head out. Take a quick look. I'm sure you're gonna find it very interesting. But anyway, enough with that. So like I said, this is how things will more or less look like once you have your app up and running for in the Play console. But before that, let's start from the beginning. So once you're here, the first thing that you do is then create your app. So here you give it a name. Let's just say call test app. You can be whatever name you want. I think Play console is very much more, less judgy about and does less checks than Apple in terms of app name. I think you can have whatever name. I will probably double check on that, but I think you can give it whatever name you want, and then the console later on, sort it out and tell you if you need to update it or not. But I found it very, very generous in terms of the app name, unless I've been lucky and my names were not taken. But again, I'll double check that information. I'll put it on the screen if that's the case. But for now, whatever app name you want, chuck it in there. Choose your location default. Here, choose your type. In this case, we're gonna go with app. You can go with game if it's a game. And then here you need to choose if it's free or pay. And like it said, you can change this later on once the app is up and running, or while you are configuring things. But also one thing here that is important to mention is that you might think, oh, if I put my app free, can then later on I implement features where users can pay for stuff, subscription, access to certain features, etc., etc. And the answer is yes. Like, the app is free, and it's according to the policies that you can release an app. And we, if you're familiar with apps and you download apps or you create apps, you see free apps then later on, selling you stuff. So yes, the answer is you can make your app free and then later on have in-purchased functionality. That's totally within the policy. Okay, so then later on we need to take two declarations. This is the developer policies. I would recommend going through them, getting familiarized with them. This is important things that we all should know as developers and at managing those stores. So I recommend going through those. And then here the US export laws as well. So yeah, do take a look into that information. Okay, so once you have this basic information, you just hit create app, and it will do the backend magic. And then once this is done, it will bring us to the dashboard, similar dashboard that you saw before, but it will give us a bunch of things to do, like a list for us to go through of things that we need to do, information that we need to provide in order for the app is to be ready for review. So two main things here that you need to have. You will need to have an SDK, a bundle for you to send, but I'm not gonna cover that right now. I will go into this part here, which is where all the nitty-gritty details are, which is in the setting up your app. So as you can see, it's not a big of a list. It can get very granular when it comes to data safety, content rating, and the type of app that you're using, how much information are you collecting, which information are you collecting. So it can get quite detailed. In this tutorial here, I will go as simple as possible without going to too much detail, because it will depend on the type of app that you're running, what type of information that you're collecting. So in this case, I will take it in the most basic way to do it, and then later on you can always update those things depending on the requirements of your application. Okay, so first and foremost, private policy. So let's dive into that. So here is where you need to provide a private policy of your app. So every app needs to have a private policy, right? Even if your app doesn't collect any data, it needs to have a private policy, right? So here you can go in many different ways. You can host this on your own website. You can use, private policy from a previous app, etc., etc. But what I'm going to show you today is a very handy thing, and it is called App Privacy Policy Generator. I mean, you can't get it handy, more handy than this. So shout out to this guy here, Nishant, for creating this. And as you can see, the community love it. And basically, it is what it tells it is. It's a privacy policy generator, and it's pretty fast. Like I'll show you guys, right? So you get here and it already self-hosted itself, so it's pretty good. So you get here, you give like an app name, so I think we call it test app, and then you give a contact information. Let's say just email at hotmail.com, and then just say when the privacy is effective. Personal notification is information here. I don't think we need that. Yeah, I don't think we need that. So let's just go. So say free again. Go here with whatever makes sense for you. Nothing of this case for us. And then let's say it's Android. And then let's say it's individual. Again, if it's a company, hit the company. In this case, we'll say here name, and then again a couple of other third-party services if you're using it or not. In this case, let's just say I'm not using anything, and then I go, like it's basically done. So you can grab the URLs right from here. It will send as well the email to you once you put your email. So let's click here, private policy, and you can deploy it direct to Fly Cricket, so it's online hosted. Which it's kind of what we want, because we want that URL, and you also get a terms of condition. It's so handy. So let's hit that deployment. I'm gonna already log in with my own account. Yeah, there you go. And then when you have reached the limit. Okay, well in this case I've reached the limit here. So I'm just gonna copy one of my older ones and then just use it. Okay, so this kind of gives you an idea for you guys how to get your policy. So I'm gonna hit that in there, save it, bam. That one is done. So if you go back here to the list, let's take a look. Private policy done. So next, app access, right? So here it will ask, through your app, Google Play must, have access to your app. All functionalities of it without an access restriction. Okay, so this is basically asking you do we need an account to log into your app? If you say you do, you will have to provide that information. You will have to come here and say add instructions, and then provide all the information, like username and then password. But in this case, we're gonna say no, and then you will have also to provide instructions here, like say, hit the login button, hit the password, etc., etc., etc. Just provide some basic information, kind of like a how to log in kind of information, and you'll be good. But in this case, we're gonna say, hey, I don't need anything, so let's hit save. There you go. That is done. Let's go back to our dashboard. That one's already tick. Now ads. So again, if you have ads on your app, you will have to hit yes. If you don't have ads on your app, you have to hit no. So in this case, I'll say no ads. Let's go. And then let's go back to that dashboard. Content rating. Right, here is where it will check for what type of content rating does your app get into, okay? And you will have to answer a pretty quick questionnaire about it. If you want to learn more, again, how these things actually work, please take a look into the more information, okay? So let's hit that questionnaire. So in this case, it will ask for an email address. I will just give, my email address. I don't mind you guys seeing that. Hit me up if you have any questions. Again, category, is this a game, is this a social or communication, or all other types of apps? Again, let's say just all the types. Again, agreed terms and conditions. Take a look into that so you can get the Age Restriction Coalition Act, overline. This is the International Age Restriction Coalition. Have a look into that if you want some more information about that. I think it's important for you to know this as well. But again, very basic. Define the category, email address, terms and conditions, accept the agreement, hit next. All right, so does this app contain any ratings related content? So sexual, violence, language, again, yes or no, depending on your case. Let's say no. User content sharing, does the app natively allow users to interact or exchange content with other users through voice commands, text, sharing images? Again, it's a yes or no question. No here in this case. Online content, does the feature promote content? Isn't part of the initial app downloads? Yes or no? In this case, let's go no. Promotion or sales, age restricted products or activities like cigarette, alcohol, firearms, gambling. I mean, personally, I will never do this. So no for sure. And then miscellaneous, does the app share user current precise physical location? And again, like I said, this is all based on what your app does, right? So figure out what your app do and answer the questions, like pretty straightforward stuff. In this case, I'm gonna say no to all of this so we can move to the next part. So then we hit save, then next, and then there you go. Because our app basically says, hey, I don't do nothing, it will again give the rating based on, the regions of the world. So Brazil, it's L, North America, we get the E for everybody, and then Europe, we get PG3, and then Germany, all ages, rest of the world is rated 3+, and then Russia, rated 3+ as well, South Korea, rated for 3+. Right, that is basically it for the content rating. Let's hit save, and then go back to our checklist. Again, if you have to update this, start new questionnaire right there, update the answers, and it will give you a new rating. Okay, now let's go back. That is done. Now we're gonna hit target audience. Again, here this is all, like I said, you're gonna hear me saying this all depends on your app, right? And it does, because there's only so much that I can show you here based on one example, because whatever context your app lives on, all of these answers will change. So this kind of gives you more or less like the path that you need to follow, but then the questions will be specific to your case, right? One thing I'll have to say here is that 18 and over sorry, restrict users that Google has determined to be minors from my app. This is the safest way to go, because you don't have to deal with the policies when it comes to minors, right? Which is then we're going to add an extra layer of obligations that you as a developer and your app have to abide to, because again, you're dealing with minor minds, so you need to be mindful about that. So once you hit 18 and over and say restrict users that the Google has determined to be minors, you kind of safeguard yourself, because it's saying, hey, my app is for grown-ups and people that understand what they're doing. And personally, in my experience so far, that has worked very well. And again, I'm not saying, hey, don't make apps for teenagers or even for kids. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that if you're gonna go that path, you just be mindful that you're dealing with that type of, demographic. Okay, now we chose that again because of that, app details and store presence. Okay, this is just kind of like the part here, the target audience, but because we said already that we're not dealing with those minor cases, it skipped most of the things. We will have to go to store presence in a minute. We already said about apps and then add details here. We might have to go back to it, but in this case for target audience and content, it skipped all of those. So let's say hit save. All right, that should be done. Let's go back to our dashboard. So data safety. Right, here is where things can, I think this is the part where things can get quite granular in terms of data safety, because it is a very important topic, right? Data safety, personally for me, is one of the biggest topics about the internet in general today, because, data is more valuable than gold. So this part here is very important. I would say just take it slow when you get to this, because it's good to get it right. And to get it right means that you're thinking about what you're doing. In this case, again, I'm gonna kind of like skim through what you got to do for this very simple context. But then again, depending on the context, the questions will get quite granular. So first of all, data collection and security. Does your app collect or share any of the required user data types? Here you can click on this and you can see the data types that it's categorized here under this section. Again, depending on your case, it's a yes or no. This case, I'm gonna say no, and then move on to the next part. Again, very simple example. Because I'm saying no, you said, okay, if you're not collecting anything, just go on, right? But let me go back and say yes, right? Then things get a little bit more granular, right? Now, all of the user data collected by your app scripted in transition? Again, we don't have to talk about encryption. Again, I can say yes. Which the following methods the account creates does YouTube support? Now we were talking about account creation. Again, depends on the things that we're gonna do. Now, if you say, okay, username and password, add a link to the user where they can request the account to be associated to be deleted. Then, if your app has username and password, it has a login functionality, you will have to, provide a link where the users can at least request that their account is deleted. It doesn't necessarily need to be like a CTA kind of functionality where they navigate to a certain point and their account is deleted right there and then through their own actions. I think you'd be good already if you provide a link where they can request for the account to be deleted. Yeah, like I said, to request right there. Okay. Yeah, so here you will have to provide a URL. Okay, I'm just gonna hit that same URL. This is just the privacy, just for me to move forward. Do you provide a way for users to request to save all the data to be deleted? Again, another part here of the questionnaire where it's asking if the app itself allows the users to request their data to be deleted. I'm gonna say no here for this part, and yeah, let's see what it gives next. Okay, now we go into data types. Yeah, so this is where it gets really, really granular, because it goes into everything. It goes into personal information, it goes into financial information, health and fitness, messaging, photos and videos, audio files. You see, like, it's an extensive list. And again, as soon as you say, hey, I do collect data, you will have to specify which data you are collecting, which for me, I think it's a good thing, because, data is very important, right? So very extensive list. I won't go through all of them, but again, this will really depend on what your app does. You know what I mean? Like, that is a lot here for you to say, hey, I do or I do not. Okay. So in this case, I will go back, I will say no again, and I will hit next so we can get to the next phase. All right, that is done. Now let's go back to the dashboard. And the play console has been a little bit slow today, so I hope it doesn't take long. Thank you. So now, government app. is your app part a government app? You know, here in the UK, we have a very famous app called HMIC. That will be a case where, you know, that's a government app. But I'm not sure here if your app is tapping into a government public API and retrieving data for that. Is that categorized a government app? I'm not sure. I can do a quick research and put it on the screen later on, but I would right now say no, because, you know, it's not tied to the government. It's just using some of the resources. But if it doesn't do that, and it's just, you know, I don't know, a gaming app or a utility app or whatever, it has nothing to do with any government in the world, easy answer, it's a no. Okay? If you say yes, again, you're gonna have to provide more information about it. Okay? Let's hit the save. Let's go back to our dashboard. And then another very important question here, which is financial features in your app. Again, if it's a banking app, you're gonna have to tell it what type of banking functionalities it provides, you know. If it's not a banking app, you know, just say no. And there you go. Saved. Oh, no, stay. Didn't you save it? There you go. No, it's saved. Okay, cool. Let's go back to our dashboard. All right. Now, let's category. It's a health app. Again, sorry. If it is, tell it what it does. What is the context of it? What is the functionalities about it? If it's not, hit no and hit that save button. Great. So I think we are getting very, very close to our end here. We have 9 out of 11. So now we need to go into store settings. App name is already done. Select a category. So let's go back here. So it is an app. And then here it goes into a more granular category. Choose whatever, you know, fits your app. In this case, I'm just going to do art and design and hit save so we can move forward. And then store listing contact. Here you're gonna have to provide a little bit of contact. Okay, again, email address, I'm just gonna hit this one. Phone number, that one doesn't work anymore, doesn't really matter. It doesn't really require you to provide a phone number. It doesn't even really require you to provide a website, which is a difference here on Play Console and the App Store. The App Store, you will have to have a website. So keep that in mind. We will get to that in the next video. So let's just hit save on that so we can get through. And then, yeah, I think this part here is already done as well. So let's go back to the dashboard. Yeah, exactly. So now the last part of it is setting up your store listing. So what is the store listing? Well, the store listing is basically the information. Let me show you guys what exactly it is. So if I go here into Cityscape and I go into view on play, store listing is all that information that it's in the store, right? So we're gonna talk about screenshots, we're gonna talk about, you know, the subtitle, we're gonna talk about the description of the app, we're gonna talk about, you know, the feature image and all those things that the users see, app icon as well in the store. Not app icon from, you know, your development section, but the app icon that shows in the store. So those things are different. So the app icon that you develop and comes in with the app when you install the app, and the app icon of the store presence are different. They are the same because you don't want them to be different, but, you know, they are different in terms of what they are of the setup, right? Hope that makes sense. Okay, app icon and a store icon, different things, but use the same image. Okay, now let's close that. So yeah, like I said, here's where you will, you know, just get that information, you know, test. Let's just use test all over the place here. And then here you will have to add some app, the app icon. You can just hit here and say add asset, get that icon, whatever icon you want, hit in there, and then future graphic. I won't add in this case, but you guys get the idea, right? And then future graphics, please pay attention to the measurements here, because what happens, I'll show you an example of this one at least. So what happens is that once you upload something and that something is too big, for example, let's just grab the Cityscape here and yeah, there you go. So it's too big, right? it's off the measurements. So what you have to do is to crop it, right? So you can avoid that by simply just providing the correct size. Okay, but if you didn't, crop it, save, and then you can just say add. There you go, and it's there, okay? But, I would say provide the correct size so you don't have to do that crop. Now, the other thing that you're gonna have to do is provide phone screenshots. Again, take a look into the aspect ratio of this to avoid the cropping. You don't really need to add tablets. It although says there is an asterisk here, you actually don't need to do if your app doesn't support it, okay? And nor for the Chromebook or Android X. So you don't need to provide that screenshot. Let me see if I'm not biting my tongue here, because I'm pretty sure you don't. No, let's stay here. Let's save the draft. Let's go back to Cityscape. Come on, Cityscape. Yeah, exactly, Cityscape. Let's go into group growth users, start present, start listing. Let's do it. Let's hit a edit on that. And yeah, there you go. Like I said, you don't need to provide the tablet, even though it shows an asterisk there. Okay, so that's done. Let's go back to our testing app and save it. Now it's gonna complain because we do need to provide some phone screenshots. So I'm just gonna grab something here. Can I just use this guy? Yeah, asking for at least 2. So let's just add 2 like that. This is not what you want. This is not what you want, because you want phone screenshots. But this is just for our example, okay? So let's hit that save. Save our draft. Let's hit that save. What is it complaining? Oh, the app icon. Okay, so in this case, can we crop this? Yeah, we can. So there you go. Just for our example, hit that in there, add save. Okay, there you go. Okay, so again, in your case, use all real informations, but this is just to give you guys an idea of what you have to do, what is really required for this step, right? So now, I think we're basically done. Yeah, there you go. I think we are done in terms of the main list. If you go now into publish overview, right? All of those changes that we've done, and this happens for every single change that you do in the console. Like if you change the app name, if you change the description, if you change the screenshots, when you provide a new build that's going into prod, everything will have to come here to the publish overview. And here there are 2 ways that you can manage this thing. You can manage the turn on manage publishing. And what this does? This is saying no right now because I'm missing one thing, but let me explain. What this does is that if you don't turn it on, once you send it for review and it's done review, it will automatically publish. And maybe that's the flow that you want to have. But if you are in a situation where you want to hit that publish button yourself, you will have to turn on the manage publishing. Okay, so keep that in mind. Turn on the manage publishing if you want to have the control when you publish it, or leave it automatic if you just want to have it, hit the ground running as soon as the review is done. Okay, so why is it not allowing us to go into review? Well, because it's missing at least one build. So one way that you can go about this, and one way that I like to go about this, and it depends on your flow. You can do open testing, you can do closing testing. Most of the time I use internal testing. And this is where we will come into this part of it. So if this is very confusing, if you haven't ever done the release, let me know. I can do a very specific video about that, where we go from the Android Studio, getting that build signed, getting all the configurations for you to get a build signed, and then bringing the build here, okay? And then after that, sending it for review, creating your testing list, grabbing that testing URL, sending it to your internal testers, all that stuff. If you guys would like to have a video on that, let me know. I'm happy to do it. It's not a lengthy process, but there is a tiny little bit of details there that is good to know if you haven't done it yet. Okay, so in this case here, I won't do, you know what, no, let's do it. Let me say create a new release. I would try to use just an APK that I probably have laying around, sorry, a bundle that I have laying around. Let me open my studio. Let me see if I can just harvest from Cityscape. Let me go here. Let me see if I have a leftover from the previous release. Yeah, I do. Okay, cool. Let's use that. So I'm just gonna go here. This is a KMP project as well. That's why it's released on both Android and iOS. If you don't know KMP, if you're interested on using KMP, like let me know. I can provide a couple of tutorials on that as well. It's pretty good, you know, language to work on. Well done on JetBrains for getting this in the market, making it, you know, production ready. You know, like it's so useful. It's great for iOS and Android. It's getting there in terms of web as well. So definitely something to keep an eye on. It has grown exponentially for the last 2 years. It's hitting a lot of production apps nowadays. So yeah, keep an eye on KMP if you haven't yet. But anyway, let's go back to what we're doing. So let me just grab this bundle. I'm just gonna use this as an example here for you guys. So I'm grabbing this bundle, I'm gonna drop it there. We're gonna have to give a release name in a minute. Let's say test, and then again, so once you have the bundle, you have all your versions and all that stuff, drop it in here, okay, and it will process it. It will make sure that, you know, everything is what it is. It might give me an error here because I already used this bundle in another app, but let's take a look. The processing here usually doesn't take long, but again, this is basically the procedure. So once you get to this point, you will have to have a release to send for review, right? Because they need to review your app, and the app to be reviewed, it needs to have a release ready for review, okay? So yeah, there you go. So what is it gonna complain? It's because this is already, no, as a different, this guy has a different package signature, right? Because our app, the Cityscape app has this signature, and right now we have called this one, let's go back to it. We have called this one just test. The signature is different. So I won't provide the full-on part of this, okay? But I'm pretty sure you guys got the idea in terms of how to create the release. Get it from Android Studio, drop it in here, send it for internal. Once you have it in internal, let me show you from the Cityscape point of view. Hold up. Let me go back. Let me go into Cityscape and I'll show you what I mean, right? So yeah, right here. So once you have it already in internal, like similar to this, the thing that you want to do is then you're going to hit that promote button, and then you're going to hit production, right? And once you hit production, it will give you this. In this case, it's asking for, you can provide a new one, or you can just go with the one that you choose. And then you're gonna hit next, and then it's gonna send that for the publishing overview, and then it will appear here for you to send for review. Okay, let's go back. Yeah, it will appear here as one item part of the review, and then you're gonna hit that send for review button, and then that's it. Honestly, that is all for this very simple example. Again, I haven't gone into all of the details because it can be a lot, okay, and it depends solely on the type of app that you are sending for review, that you're working on, okay? So that's basically it. I will finish here from now. If there's anything that wasn't clear during the tutorial, hit the comment section, ask me. I'll do my best to reply to it. If any of the videos or the topics that I kind of like, you know, skim through, you would like to learn a little bit more, also just let me know in the reviews, and I'll do my best to, yeah, to get over to you guys. But until then, thank you so much, guys, and yeah, all the best.